This is Masad Ayub from the Pro Arms Podcast. I'm here to remind you that our podcast is a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network, and I'm going to suggest you do what we do and check out the other podcasts at selfdefenseradio.net.
Treat every firearm as if it's loaded.
Never point a firearm at anything you're not willing to kill or destroy.
Keep your finger off the trigger until you are on target and ready to fire.
Always be sure of your target and what lies beyond it.
And welcome to the Polite Society Podcast, powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. We're recording this one on Thursday, August the 20th, 2020. I'm Paul Lathrop.
I'm John Richardson, and on tonight's show, we'll talk with RickEctor about training almost 2,000 women to shoot in one weekend.
I'm Dana Lufer, and we will also have a discussion with Dwayne McBride of U.S. Law Shield about why legal coverage is necessary in today's society. And we will also talk with Ron Hammond of OpsLens about that app and what exciting new show is featured on the app. So climb aboard.
Strap in.
And hang on.
Episode 554 of the Polite Society Podcast starts right now. And welcome back. This is our personal news segment. We are just getting the show kicked off. Been just a few days. We recorded on Monday, but because of my schedule, we won't have a chance to record for several days. So we decided to kick one off now, hoping that we have time before we have to get another one out. We try to keep the show going out every Tuesday for podcast listeners. And by recording on odd schedules on our live show, that keeps that happening. We're going to go ahead and, Rob cannot join us tonight. We're going to go ahead and start with John. What's been up with you in the few days since we recorded last?
Well, I actually started my hunting and shooting sports management program at Montgomery Community College. Most of the texts for gunshot management will come from actual ATF publications, so saving a lot on books there. The lead instructor is a guy named Lynn Fagan, who is an FFL, and who has also worked for Ares Defense and Alexander Arms. So a lot of experience in the industry. So, well, Dana, I guess it's up to you next.
Well, I've really just spent my time recovering from the weekend and getting some yard work done. Got lawn mowed and edged and of course, been carrying every day. So, and I guess it's back to you, Paul.
Okay. Well, with me, I've been home. As I said on the last show, I got home on Sunday, and I've been able to string several days off in a row. I do go back out on the road tomorrow. But for me, mostly, it's been getting work done for AmCon and Gun Rights Policy Conference. And I've been, I had an awesome opportunity. I got to go have lunch with Neil and Stephanie Widener today with Active Self-Protection. And they're going to be doing a class. He's going to be on the show in the near future, as soon as his schedule and my home schedule, when our recording schedule mesh. He's got a really exciting class that's going to be coming up. It's a 6-week class. They're going to be meeting I believe it's going to be every Thursday evening here in Sioux Falls. And it's going to be 6 weeks of training, a little bit every week, and building on that. And that's something, that's a way I thought training should have been done for a long time. I mean, with the reality of, the trainers traveling from city to city, you got to get everything in a weekend for somebody who's, well, for example, Masada, you traveling from Florida to Sioux Falls, you got to get everything in 1 week. You can't have him here for several weeks. But with something like this, where we have an honestly, Neil's a national level instructor, and he's going to be doing every Thursday night for several weeks in a row. He's going to be doing training at a local range, and I'm just really pumped about that. I wish my schedule would allow me to attend that, but I just cannot guarantee I'm going to be home every Thursday evening. So got to do that today, and not much else. I haven't been anywhere, so I haven't had to do the disarmament dance. Carried every day and pants on, gun on. That's kind of been my life. So, all right, let's see. Training. Well, I did talk about the training coming up here. Oh, and if you want to get involved in that, we'll be talking to Neil in the near future about that. But if you want to get involved in that training, go ahead and go over to activeselfprotection.com. They can certainly get you tied in there. Let's see. What else do we need to talk about? Let's talk about the network as soon as I get this to come up. And we will hit that button. And hello, everybody on Facebook and YouTube and the OpsLens app. You're looking at the Self-Defense Radio Network web page. Self-Defense Radio Network, we are a founding member and a proud member of the network. The tagline is all your pro-freedom podcasts in one place. And if you look there, you can see there's the Polite Society podcast, Armed Lutheran Radio, Self-Defense Gun Stories, all kinds of great shows. You can listen right off there. You can subscribe right off the webpage. Lots of good information, good shows there, and more are going to be coming. That's at selfdefenseradio.net. We are going to step aside right now. When we come back, we're going to talk to our first guest, and that's going to be RickEctor. When I talked to him on the phone earlier today, I said, Rick, you trained about 500 million women to shoot guns. He goes, well, one thing I've never done is exaggerated. And I said, well, I know it was just shy of 2,000, but man, what an accomplishment. So we're going to be talking with him when we come back, and we will be back right after this.
This portion of the Polite Society podcast is brought to you by the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. If you carry a defensive handgun, you need protection from the aftermath of prosecution. Even if you do everything right, you can be the victim of an overzealous prosecutor or even be falsely accused. That is where the ACLDN comes in. They provide immediate assistance when you need it most. If you find yourself under arrest, they immediately pay bail money and the retainer for your attorney. Additional funds are available for trial and civil proceedings. Beyond the money, they have far and away the best team in the industry, providing you invaluable information and training DVDs that are included with your membership and who stand ready to work with your lawyer on your defense. People like Masad Ayub, John Farnham, James Fleming, Tom Givens, Emmanuel Capelson, Dennis Tueller, and led by Network President Marty Hayes. Initial membership is only $135 for your first year, and you get 8 incredible training DVDs and other educational material when you join. If you don't have tens of thousands of dollars to defend yourself at your disposal right now, you need to be a member of the ACLDN. Go to armedcitizensnetwork.org and become a member today. And please mention that you heard about them on the Polite Society podcast.
And welcome back to the Polite Society podcast, powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. Joining us on the phone, RickEctor, Rick's Firearms Academy of Detroit, I think, but I know legally armed in Detroit, and I know he's fresh off a weekend of training almost 2,000 women to shoot in one weekend. Rick, thanks for joining us on the show, man.
Hey, man, thank you again for having me on the show, man. It's always a pleasure and an honor to join you, your counterparts, and your listeners, man. Honored to be here.
Well, we're honored to have you. By the way, folks, if you want to ask Rick a question, go ahead and on the Facebook app, go ahead and ask your question, and we will you just comment on the video. We'll ask Rick the question while he's live on the air with us. Rick, you just did an astounding feat. You've been doing this year after year. The first year, I think you trained, didn't you say you trained like 90 women your first year? Am I getting that right?
Oh, man, no, it was 50. I got 50 women who came out and took us up on our offer. And you know what? given the state of things at that time in this environment, that was a huge deal to a lot of people. And internally, I was secretly hoping for 100 or 200 or 300. I just wanted to be inundated and overwhelmed with people clamoring to be a part of the project. So while everybody's slapping me on the back, I don't know, maybe I got something wrong with me. I was like only 50, but I stayed with it, man. And, I didn't get discouraged. I'm sure you're familiar with this guy. I've always considered him a mentor from when I first saw his podcast, Black Man with the Gun, talking about Ken Blanchard.
Sure.
And I was talking with him on the phone, and he was giving me the pep talk of all pep talks, man. He was like, don't be discouraged, stay the path and just keep going, man. And I did. And 50 became 100 the next year, and then 200 the following year. It seemed like I was growing by hundreds for a minute, and 300, and then we skipped 4 and went to 5, and 6, 7, 8, 14 last year, man. And it was really surprising, even to myself, that we had the numbers we did during this iteration. And I have some ideas as to some things that could have contributed to that, man. But to rack up the numbers that we did this past weekend was just mind-blowing. I'm talking 1,200 people over at Recoil on Saturday on the 15th, and then another 738, on Sunday at Top Gun. Man, it's just mind-blowing. A total of 1,938 women trained in 2 days, man. So, it's just mind-blowing. But you know what? I'm staying on the path. And there were some interesting things that happened along the way this year. I think that initially were viewed when they first occurred as setbacks, but actually, when you take everything in perspective now in the aftermath, they were steps that had to be taken to get me to the next level. For example, 2 key trainers that would have been key integral parts of this project weren't able to do it because I moved the date because I wanted to get 2 events back to back. They had personal conflicts with their own programs and things that they're doing. But that gave me an opportunity to look at my organization of women that I've trained, from getting their concealed carry license to training them to be firearms instructors and have them participate in my events in positions of leadership, all the way to elevating them to being the program leads of this project. I don't know if you're aware, we had 4 key women who were basically overseeing the training. To me, Tanisha Moner was the woman who led the actual classroom and outdoor lecture on fundamental firearm safety and what to expect when they got there. And then I had another 3 women, Jamie Gabriel and Audrey Evans and one other lady I had that, they made it happen. They were actually instrumental in ensuring that the women got all the oversight and instruction and made sure that they performed admirably on their targets and made sure that the most important stat was achieved, that despite all the women we trained, 1,938, we had exactly 0 injuries as we planned for.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know in order to do that, you had to have a bunch of people helping you too.
Man, always. It goes without saying. And without the support of a lot of people contributing, without the support of a lot of people pitching in, some tasks are, I guess, for lack of a better term, they're the glory jobs, the actual person that's doing the supervision of the activities that's happening on the range, all the way to the instructors who are one-on-one with the participants. But, man, we had people whose job it was merely to grab people out of line and assign them to lanes. We had people whose job it was just to hand out safety glasses and earplugs. Regardless of how menial some of those tasks may appear, they're all instrumental and important. And from a project, from a systems approach, they all are important and they all must happen And man, we ran like a dream. And I truly owe the smooth running and operation of this program to all the wonderful, energetic, and enthusiastic people I had working the event. Without them, you know what? At one person, one man, I could not have done this by myself. You know, it goes without saying, but I want to explicitly say it.
We're starting to get comments in on Facebook already. Julian is asking you on Facebook, I want to get my wife into a training class. Any suggestions on how to do it?
Well, man, I'm biased, but I would say this event that I just did would have been the perfect segue. I mean, it's spin free, it's politics free. All it is we want women who are just curious and want to come into a safe environment. And I'll tell you the other great thing about this event, because it's all women that's participating in it, and I have program leads who are women running it. It's an inviting environment, and you see your fellow, peers actually doing it, other women running it and other women participating in it. And if you see another woman doing it, I think it's just, intuitive to say, hey, if she can do it, I can do it. And yeah, if she's doing it, yeah, you can do it. Just come on in and do it. My best Dr. Seuss what is that? Green Eggs and Ham. Try it. Just try it. Sam I Am. Was that Sam I Am?
That was Sam I Am.
Well, yeah, when people express an interest, when they raise their hand and they say that they're interested, seize upon that opportunity, and don't rush them, go with their pace, but make sure that the experience is fun. And I'll tell you, all I saw were smiles the entire weekend from people who were like, gee, I didn't think that I could do this. I'm amazed and surprised at myself. And it's the first step, on what they're calling an epic journey, man, the hero's journey, where you're just this regular, unassuming person who lives a so-called ordinary life, and then something extraordinary happens. And I'm going to say that participating in this event is an extraordinary event. Something happens to you, and it puts you on a journey to learning more about firearms and their role in personal protection. And next thing you know, who knows where that road might go. But one thing I'll tell you is that you'll forever be transformed. And whenever someone tells you or tries to define for you what a gun owner is and how bad and awful people they are, that person, that woman could say, well, I went to Rick's program and I was curious. I participated. I shot a gun. I enjoyed it. And I'm not a bad person. So maybe some of these other things that they're saying about gun owners isn't true either.
There you go. There you go. I want to remind our viewers and listeners, if you want to ask Rick a question, just comment on the live Facebook video on Polite Society Podcast Facebook page. John, you want to ask any question? Dana, you were there.
I actually do have a question. Given that you more than doubled from last year, what do you attribute that to?
Man, you know what? That's a great question, and I have an answer for you, man. There are a lot of separate, distinct things that are collectively at force here, man. One, you just have more women interested in learning about guns. Well, why is that? Well, we have, this coronavirus thing that's going on and some of the consequences of that affects our society. We're having a lot of people idled and out of work, man. We have companies shutting down and places are losing their jobs. We have a national election that's coming up, which always spurs interest and demands in firearms. We have these unfortunate negative incidents that are happening in our cities. We're having riots and civil unrest from bad people doing bad things. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge First Amendment supporter, but there's a right way to express your First Amendment and a wrong way, man. Never, ever should you ever use violence to express your opinion. The right to keep and bear arms was second because we believe in the right of free expression and free speech. But you know what? Under no circumstances should violence be used to keep people from exercising their rights, man. No way should violence interfere with other people's other rights, man. And it's really sad and depressing to see those things at work in our society right now. But I say all that to say this. There are all of these forces at work right now that are simultaneously occurring, which is creating this perfect storm for a huge demand in firearms training and firearm purchases.
Okay. Dana, you got anything you want to throw Rick's way?
Well, yeah. I got to say it was a pleasure spending the time there this weekend and helping you out, even though I'm not a trainer.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in for next year. I mean, we.
You know what? We graciously accept your offer to come out, man. I don't even know all the particulars of what next year's event is going to look like, because it's going to be different. You know, every year something is different about the project, about the program. You know, the big difference this year was multiple locations on consecutive days, and then how we had to move a huge portion of the training outdoors. So, I mean, it's the ability to have some really good, smart, imaginative people who can think on the fly, who, when circumstances are not occurring the way you drew it up on paper, where we can come together and have a quick brainstorm and figure out a solution and implement it right away. And that's one of the great positive things that you get out of teams and empowering people within your teams to feel free to contribute, and that no idea is crazy. Just share it, and if it works, we'll run with it. And I'll tell you, that's a great feeling when you're part of a team and you have a great idea and people in leadership recognize you for it and implement it and give you credit for it, and we take the program on to the next level.
Exactly. When we hit 1,200 on Saturday and we're going, okay, now what are we going to do on Sunday? And if it hadn't been for that rainstorm Sunday morning, I think we might have hit 2,000. So,
you know, the rain was a factor, and then, you know, we realized there was a bottleneck in that range. You know, they wanted, you know, strictly have 18 people in the building at one time, right? And so what did we do? We took it outside, right? So it's the ability to be flexible and have great people with great ideas, and being able to have an environment in which you feel comfortable making a suggestion. We discussed it quickly, we hashed it out quickly, and we implemented it right away. And suddenly everything was back on track.
Well, now this is an annual thing, Rick. And when we talked on the phone earlier, I told you that, Dana just volunteered, but you also have two other volunteers, two coming from South Dakota. Now, you hold this on the Sunday after Mother's Day, generally. With the Corona thing this year, it had to get moved around. But in May next year, you're going to be doing this again. Have you set a goal for next year?
Not yet, man, because I'm still evaluating everything, man. And, you know, I had two key people that weren't involved because we had to move it. But with those two key people, it is quite reasonable for me to do it in 4 locations next year. Quite reasonable. And if we do them in different areas, as opposed to 2 gun ranges in the same city, you know, that suburban community of Taylor, we can get another cross-section of another wide metropolitan area in the state to participate. I'm also looking to take this thing on the road, man. You know, I really got my eyes on Florida, man. You know what? I'm very cool, very tight with Florida Carry. Love that group, love that organization. They brought me in to speak to them at their event back in February. You know, the weather was halfway decent during the day, but man, we froze overnight, you know, like icicles overnight, man. But we had on heavy clothing and hats and coats, and we had space heaters in the tents. But, man, I tell you, as grueling as it was overnight, man, that whole weekend in sum total was a great experience. It was my first time ever camping. But I said all this to say that, I'm definitely know that I can get some support from the Florida Carry organization to take this show on the road to Florida. But I'm really looking to probably do a trial run in Toledo as soon as possible. There's a few things I need to get worked out. But, yeah, I'm looking for a trial run of taking this show on the road in Ohio. And then shortly after Ohio, taking this thing to Florida. And then once we work out all the kinks, man, I'm looking to go elsewhere.
All right. Well, we're coming up on the end of the segment here. Rick's Firearms Academy of Detroit. I'm assuming you don't work one day a year or one weekend a year. You're doing this all the time. If people want to get in touch with you, Rick, if they need training, how do they do that?
Man, it's easy. The best way, and I tell people all the time, believe it or not, I have a decent level of exposure on Google. Google Rick, RickEctor. My website is DetroitCCW.com. My blog is LegallyArmedInDetroit.com. On most social media sites like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, my handle is usually Detroit CCW. And I have a huge portal presence on YouTube. I have over 2,200 videos I've been constantly saving and producing and uploading to my YouTube channel. Over 2,200 videos on YouTube. And after this weekend, I'll probably be uploading another 10 from the things that I've been doing just this past week. So, yeah, it is not hard to find me at all.
Very cool. Well, we do have to step aside to break. Rick, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Congratulations on nearly 2,000 women in one weekend. And, man, I'm hoping for a lot more.
Funny, man, because I was knocking on the door of 1,000. Like, man, how can I crack 1,000? And now cracking 1,000 has been, now it's nearly 2,000, right?
Yeah.
So, you know what? The mark is always moving, and I'm not mad about it. I'm up for the challenge.
There you go. Folks, we do have to step aside to break. We're going to hear from the people of the Complete Combatant. And when we come back, we've got Dwayne McBride. He's with the U.S. Law Shield, and he'll be talking with us about why it's really important to have legal protection in today's society. We'll be right back right after this. This portion of the Polite Society podcast is brought to you by The Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant is designed for a broad base of citizens that range from students that don't own a gun on up to advanced students that train often. The Complete Combatant offers several different courses that build upon each other, from avoidance, using verbal commands, and preparing for contact, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, your 911 call, interacting with the police, to even dealing with the legal system in the aftermath. The Complete Combatant courses are a layered approach for all levels of experience that will walk you through all the many stages of decisions while developing a game plan tailored to your skills and your everyday carry. Please visit www.thecompletecombatant.com and make sure you mention this ad to receive 15% off. Again, that's www.thecompletecombatant.com and mention the ad for 15% off. All right, we are back. This is the Polite Society podcast powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. Joining us in our next interview segment is Dwayne McBride. He is with U.S. Law Shield. Dwayne, thank you for joining us on the show today, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Paul.
Well, we talked on the phone a little bit earlier today, and I want to introduce U.S. Law Shield to our listeners. U.S. Law Shield stepped up in a big way last year, continuing this year with sponsoring AmCon, and we really, really appreciate that. And as part of that, we're going to be doing a continuing series on the show, talking with people from U.S. Law Shield about self-defense and self-defense topics that are current and we're going to be doing that about once a month. So when we talked on the phone earlier, Dwayne, it was actually yesterday we talked. What we were talking about, basically, mostly in our conversation, was really the current situation of social unrest in some of the larger cities. And boy, if you are in or around any population center, I really believe you absolutely need to be having some type of legal coverage if you carry a gun.
Yeah, Paul. I mean, I agree with you 100%. And it's not just in the big cities. You know, if you're going to go out and take the time to get a concealed carry license and train with your firearm, you know, one of the things that makes a complete package preparing to do that is to make sure you have an after action plan, and legal coverage is just that. It's an after action plan. So you know, what happens after a bang? What happens after someone, an intruder, comes in your house and they come in and they intend to do you or your family harm? Well, you're going to defend your family and you're going to defend your life. And after bang, what happens? What is your plan? You know, do you have a legal plan in place? Because at that point in time, it's a murder trial. You know, you're going to go to a murder trial. Even, you know, the police have to decipher through evidence. They have to figure out what happened. You know, it's just not automatically a pat on the back. Hey, good citizen, good job for defending your family, your life against this criminal that came in to do you harm. It's they have to figure out, was this a drug deal gone bad? Was this a domestic violence gone bad? So you're going to get arrested. You're going to take the ride, and you know, you can beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride. And you need to have a legal plan in place. You need to have coverage that you're going to have an attorney there for you at the time of need, at time of incident, and that attorney is going to go through the whole process with you, because even the police, you know, get 48 to 72 hours, depending on the state we're talking about, before they have to answer any questions on an on-duty shooting. So, you know, as a civilian, you don't get that opportunity. You're usually getting questioned right away, and that's not the time to be answering these questions, because being law-abiding citizens, we want to plead our innocence. And right after a critical incident, and you know, with critical incident stress and everything that takes place, are you answering those questions correctly, or are you, you know, at that point in time, everything you say can and will be used against you in court. You need an attorney present to go through that questioning with you and to guide you through that whole process. That's what we do with U.S. Law Shield. We provide you 100% coverage, criminal, civil, and all appeals. And it's a whopping $10.95 a month, about a price of a couple of Starbucks coffees. And you're covered 100%, never a penny out of your pocket. And that's just the beginning with us. You know, the big thing with us is legal education. We really educate our members. We have so much content out there to help actually prepare you legally and educate you on the law within your state. I'm talking specific state legal content. If you live in Illinois, it'd be for Illinois. If you're in South Dakota, it's for South Dakota, because those program attorneys for us are actually developing all that educational material for those states. And then we do things like we do legal seminars where you can come and actually meet your program attorney, things like that. And we do a lot of things, educating people to be more responsible, more legally educated gun owners is our goal, and protecting them for after bang is our bread and butter. That's what we do the best.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm going to go ahead and open this up to my co-host, and I'm going to remind everybody watching and listening, if you want to ask a question of Dwayne, just comment on the live Facebook video, and we'll get your question answered on the air while we're here. John or Dana, you have any questions you want to fire off? Oh wait, I see your lips moving, John, but I didn't have you up. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Dwayne, I do have a question. Given that there are certain states like New York, Washington, who have now come down on, quote, insurance programs, and they're calling it murder insurance, which is a joke.
Mhm.
Are you constrained about or restricted about what states you can offer this program in?
Actually, we're actually up and running in 48 states. New York is not one of those, and we have faced that in a few states that we are open in. But U.S. Law Shield actually took the proper steps, and we went through a Fortegra Insurance Group, and we had to go that route in order to open up and do business in those states, which means that my people on the ground that represent the company, they'll all have the proper licensures to actually sell our program and sell memberships. And that was a step that we had to take as a company about, I guess it was like 2.5 years ago. We had to start moving in that direction. And we haven't really had any problems as long as we're following the proper steps to open in each state and we're following the proper laws and regulations to do so. Yeah, there is some red tape involved sometimes, but we really haven't had a lot of road bumps. I mean, we've done what the states have asked us to do, and we've had no problems. So I hope that answers your question. I mean,
It did.
there are.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, yeah, actually, California was one of those states, and it took us a little longer to get open in California, but we did, and we've been operating up and running in California now for about 1.5 years, and we've gained a lot of members out there. So it's all about taking the proper steps in order to open up as a business in those states. Some states were opened up as a legal entity, and in other states we have to open up as an insurance entity. So I hope that answers your question.
So let's specifically focus on, for instance, I'm going to use myself as an example. My primary job, believe it or not, is not a talk show host. I drive truck for a living, and I get all over the country. And I'm just going to pull for instance, out of my backside here. Let's say, for instance, I'm driving through Dallas. All of a sudden, I find myself surrounded by people, and they're trying to break into the truck, and I hit the throttle and get out of there, and some people are injured or possibly worse. Do you have to use a gun, or can you defend yourself with other items and be covered with U.S. Law Shield?
Well, absolutely. That's the one thing I really like about our program is we're all legal weapons. So as long as it's a legal weapon, and yes, a vehicle could be considered a legal weapon to protect yourself. If you were, in a situation that deadly force had to be used and you're behind the wheel of your car, yes, a vehicle would be covered. Things that wouldn't be covered would be something like an illegal weapon. Like if it's a state that you couldn't have a trench knife on a pair of brass knuckles or something like that. As long as it's, it's not an illegal weapon within that state, we cover you 100%. No questions asked.
Very cool. I looked over to social media to see if we had any questions, and right now we just have one. And credit to John. Julian says, "John, you stole my question." So I do want to remind everybody on Facebook, go ahead and ask questions in live video if you'd like. Dana, John, you got anything you want to come in with? We still got about 7 minutes left in the segment.
Sure.
Yeah. What's the other state beside New York that's not available?
Hello.
Yeah, John was just asking what. Can you hear us now? Oh, wait. Let me merge. Can you hear us now? Dwayne. I think Dwayne lost audio.
Hello?
Dwayne, are you there? I don't think he can hear us. Live TV, man. That's what happens. I know I've got his audio up. I know he should be able to hear us. I know we can hear him. Dwayne, are you there?
Hello?
Yeah, he's shaking his head. Goodness. I do not know what happened there. We're going to try just for another minute to try and get things linked back up. I'm going to drop audio and pick it back up. Dwayne, can you hear us? And I'm going to try soloing his screen. Dwayne, can you hear us? You should be able to hear us. And now we got a frozen screen. All right. I think that's going to end up doing it for our interview with Dwayne of U.S. Law Shield. I think what we're going to have to do, folks, we're going to go ahead and step aside to break, and we'll just go ahead and move on with the show. When we come back, you've got our third interview segment. This is going to be with Ron Hammond. Ron is the, I don't know if I want to call him owner. I don't know if I want to call him president. I don't know what his title is, but he's the main man behind the Ops Lens. Oh, wait, can you hear us, Dwayne?
I'm back. I'm back. I don't know what happened there. We dropped the call.
Oh, okay. All right. I even forgot where we were in the rush to try and get you back. Did somebody, John? You had just asked a question.
Yeah, I was going to ask. You said there were 48 states. What beside New York is not available?
Okay, right now the only state that we have that is not available other than New York is we're not fully open in Washington State right now.
So you are in Hawaii and New Jersey. That's amazing.
Yes, we've been in New Jersey for quite a while. We have a rock star attorney out there, Evan Knappen. He's like really big in the 2A world. He's our program attorney out there. We do large events with him. We've been in New Jersey now for, I guess, almost 3 years, and we have a lot of members out there. We are open in Hawaii. I have no sales personnel on the ground there yet, but we do have program attorneys and everything set up out there. Now, we do have legal coverage in all 50 states, though. So even in New York, if you were to get in trouble, we can handle your problem there. We have the legal team to do that. We just don't have personnel on the ground, going out and signing facilities and handling memberships face to face. So if that answers your question a little better on that, maybe.
It does.
Yeah. Right. So it's a great program. I got involved with this program. I'm a retired special operations guy. I retired from the military after several tours downrange, and I got involved with it because of it just doesn't make sense to me to carry a firearm without a good after-action plan. Coming up in that environment in the military, we always had an after-action plan for every operation we ran, every mission you ran, you have an after-action plan, and it just doesn't make sense to me to walk around daily.
And we just dropped the call again.
I think we dropped again, but I'm back.
Yeah, I got you. Well, we're coming up on the end of the segment anyway. If somebody's interested in U.S. Law Shield, please let us know how we can get more information and possibly sign up for U.S. Law Shield.
Sure. Just go to www.uslawshield.com and check us out. We got a lot of legal content you can look at. If you're, things have kind of been put on hold with our live events because of coronavirus, but, go on the website, check us out, because more likely we'll be doing a live event in a city near you here in the future whenever we get to all come out of our houses and, socialize again. So, it's a great program. It's absolutely the oldest program out there. We got about 500,000 members across the country, and we take care of our members every year, and we handle several cases every year. So, just give us a look. It's just too cheap not to make sure that you're not covering yourself if you have to use self-defense to defend your life or your loved ones.
Very cool. We do have to step aside to break. We're going to hear from Concealment Solutions, and when we come back, I talked about it a little bit before. We're going to be talking with Ron Hammond from Ops Lens. We'll be right back right after this.
This portion of the Polite Society podcast is brought to you by Concealment Solutions. Jason Christensen makes the most comfortable inside the waistband holster on the market, bar none. The Black Mamba. Some of the other products offered are the Sidewinder outside the waistband holster and Python gun belts. Every product that Concealment Solutions makes has unsurpassed craftsmanship that shows in the fit and finish of the product. Visit concealmentsolutions.com to view all of the products available, and you can get 10% off your order when you enter the promo code POLITICS in the promo code box at checkout. That's concealmentsolutions.com.
And welcome back to the Polite Society podcast, powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. This is our third interview segment. Joining us right now, we've got Ron Hammond. Ron is, correct me, I have never asked you this. I guess I don't know. Are you the owner, the president, chief cook and bottle washer? What's your title, Ron?
All of the above.
Okay.
I'm the owner, and I wash the dishes too. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, Ron Hammond is with Ops Lens, and it's a app. It's a website. It's a I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop this up on the screen here, so everybody can see it. As soon as I can get to, there we go. For all the viewers, this is what the Ops Lens website looks like. I do not have the app installed yet on the device that I can show you, but that is opslens.com's website. But the main focus is the app. Ron, you want to tell us a little bit about how you got this thing started and what OpsLens is?
Sure. Well, OpsLens it started from the idea that I was watching things on television, commentary taking place, that typically was being done by people who'd never done the work. And nothing's more annoying than to have somebody out there saying something about a topic that hasn't done the work. I'm thinking the Rachel Maddows of the world, not to offend anybody, but that annoyed me. So the genesis really is the website, if you look at it, is articles, opinion articles from people who have served, whether that's in the military, the intel community, law enforcement at the state and federal and local level. We have some EMTs and medical personnel that are coming in to start to write articles as well about, especially as it relates to what's going on today with the Wu flu. So that was how the website took place. The app, I look at it now as I spent about 30 years gathering information for decision makers to be able to make pertinent and heady decisions about the direction of the country. That was part of my job as an operations officer in the CIA. That's what I did. I was also in the Army. And so it dawned on me, people don't have a lot of time during the day to go out and look for information, nor do they have a lot of the filters that you get from doing the jobs that a lot of us have done. And so OpsLens, through the lens of operational experience, right? So now I've gone out with the app and picked programming and things that I think, using the experience that I've garnered after 30 years, as well as bouncing it off others out of the same industry as I've been, to see, okay, does this resonate well? Pick that programming and pull it into the app and serve it up for people so that they have it at their fingertips. They don't have to go to YouTube and look through it or through the whole process of trying to distill things out. It's there for them, and they can make a decision.
One of the things I like about it is, and I have it on the phone. I just can't show through the software what's on my phone yet. That's happening, but it's more equipment that I got to get. But one of the things I like about the app is it's you don't really have to question as much. If you watch mainstream media, even Fox News, you have to put it through a filter of, what's their bent? What are they trying to accomplish? And there's just not any of that there with OpsLens. There's no, we're trying to get you to do something.
Right. Exactly. I just want people to be informed and make their decision the way they're going to make it. And so if you look at the programming that's on the app, you got a lot of varied. You have opinion shows. You have talk shows kind of like this. You have informational shows. A lot. I have the Hoover Institute and Cato, and I pull some of their stuff in there. That's actually good stuff that people should know about, right? That maybe don't know where to go to find it. So it's there. We have some. I'm bringing on sports and entertainment here over the next week or two. Got a couple of shows that are dealing with country music interviews and sports. They should be really fun, I think. It adds a little different flavor to the app as well. We got an FBI profiler. He was head of the behavioral unit for the FBI. He was a great guy. He has a podcast called the Criminal Mind.
Mm-hmm.
So he analyzes cases. He comes at it from a very interesting perspective, and he works with another guy who's a criminal psychologist, Dr. Carlos Vasquez, and he has a show too. So it's just really getting it out there so people can digest some things other than what's being fed to them on the television through mainstream. Also, the other thing about it is there's some great technology in the app. So I have the ability built into the app now. A lot of people like to do the TikTok videos. We have that capability on the app. And what that means is a listener or a follower of a program can use the icon of that program in the app in the video that they make, and they can make a 60-second commentary on what's going on in their world, what's the ground truth of what's happening in their life, or they can just comment on a show or promote ideas for the next show that's coming up. And so we then publish those videos onto the app, and we also push them out to other social media platforms for exposure, so people can see what's going on. Really some cool stuff with respect to the app. We also have live reporting, where I can designate somebody as a live reporter, perhaps in a peaceful protest that's going on, and they can stream that live video directly to the app to be viewed and not be censored as it might be if it was going straight to Facebook or straight to Twitter, right? So
Okay.
Really cool stuff.
I'm going to go ahead and open this up to my co-hosts and also to the audience. And I want to say specifically to Charlie, who tried to get a question in Dwayne, but I didn't get to it in time. But yeah, if you have any questions for Ron, anybody watching or listening, go ahead and comment on the Facebook video. We'll get it asked. John or Dana, do you have anything you want to bring up?
Well, actually, I just downloaded it while you were speaking, and I've already logged on, so it's real easy to get.
Cool. Thank
you. And I did the same. So you got two new participants within seconds.
Awesome.
Well,
awesome.
And we are, as Polite Society Podcast, we are absolutely honored that you asked us to come aboard, and we're going to be bringing other shows from Self Defense Radio Network on very soon. But this, it seems to me to be an opportunity. I mean, yeah, of course, it's an opportunity to open our show to other channels, but it's really an opportunity, once I get everything on my end worked out, to include viewers and listeners more, in that they can become reporters for us.
Yes. That's the whole general purpose. I'm calling it, in fact, I've got a name for it, and we're going to try to start pushing out a campaign on it. It's the OpsLens Truth Brigade. So the idea would be, the followers are part of the Truth Brigade, and then you could be, the battalion of the Polite Society battalion part of the Truth Brigade, right? So get it out, and everybody will have a medallion that'll basically brand in the bottom corner of the video that the listeners make, right? So we know who they're listening from and where they're going from. So
very cool.
Exciting times because it's interactive.
And we've been trying to become more interactive as a show. And that's really what tripped my trigger when you and I talked the first time, is this allows us to become a lot more interactive and bring people in a lot more than we currently have the ability to do.
Absolutely. And so what we're doing right now, with you're streaming it live to the app, and it's on the app live. There's a chat room on the app that can be opened up, and you can chat publicly on the app while the show is going on, or direct person to person on the app. And it's also being multicasted to the OpsLens website, which you have up under live TV. If you went there, you'll see this broadcast there. And then we're broadcasting it to the OpsLens Facebook page and Twitter. So we're trying to push it out to get some cross-pollination across all of that too. But the idea is to, have people come into the app and then want to stay there because they can chat, they can do messaging, they could create their own videos to interact back with the content creators.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop over to as soon as I get this up here, I'm going to pop over to your website again. And I have, just as you said, click the live TV app, and up on top is Matlock, and then NRN highlights, and then PC radio. And right below that, I'm not going to click on the start button because that will create all kinds of wicked feedback, but we are there.
Yep. And I have it on my end. I'm watching it out of the corner of my eye here over to my right. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So that, again, it's OPSLENS. It's both in the Apple store and on the Android store, right?
That's correct. And we're going to be soon on Roku TV and Apple TV as well.
Wow. Very cool.
Yep.
And you need to get it. Next one is, what is Amazon? Amazon Fire TV?
Yep, Fire Stick. That'll be down the line. And then what we are hoping to do is, events can be planned through the app, where you could do, for instance, if you had on the convention that you're going to have, if there was enough pre-time, you could set a purchase, in-app purchase, to participate in the convention, right? And then screen it on your TV through Roku, right? Or project it from the app up to your smart TV, and then you can basically participate in conventions, conferences, concerts, right? Special events, charity events. All of that then becomes an in-app purchase. The app itself is free, and 99% of everything on it is free. We're hopefully going to start rolling out ads because we have to make a living.
Yes, sir.
I'm building it, and they will come. I'm doing the Field of Dreams here, and
you notice in our show we have to pay the bills too, man. We run ads because the equipment, the licensing, the bandwidth, none of that is free.
Exactly. And so right now, there are no ads, but eventually what we'll do is we'll have ads. And those ads, though, are the non-interruptive ads. So unlike on YouTube, where you have your content interrupted with those annoying, the content will play after the ad, or you push skip ad. This separates out the content and the ad plays separately, split screen from the content, which is
nice.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
Exactly.
We do have a comment coming in from social media. Matthew says it's a good time in technology to have different options of information, especially when certain social media platforms Facebook. Was that out loud? Or traditional media outfits who now have almost monopoly have decided to become gatekeepers or make that programming literally that programming to the public by stopping a narrative. That kind of goes back to what we started the conversation on. Is it bypasses the filters.
Yes, exactly. And so what the platform allows us to do is we can project back into those mainstream social media platforms. And if they decide to censor it or push us out, that's okay. We're still on the app and we'll always be on the app, right? For that content. And so they don't have the leg up on us.
Very cool. Very cool. And real quick, one more, and then we gotta jump to break here. George says we're behind enemy lines, and on Facebook and Instagram and some of the other social media, that is very much the case. You say something they don't like, boom, you're gone for 30 days.
Exactly, and that's not the case on OpsLens. So we're uncensored. We like to say uncensored, unfiltered. We don't like crazy, right? None of us. We like, okay, if you're there and you abide by the certain rules, and the rules are, you just like you'd be meeting somebody on the street, right? Mm-hmm. You're not going to be an ass to somebody on the street, so we'd ask you not to be an ass there. Yeah. So,
all right. We do
open range, though.
We do need to step aside to break, man. I want to thank you so much for inviting us onto the OpsLens app and website, and for coming on the show and talking about it tonight, man.
My pleasure. Thank you for taking the leap with us and for having me on the show. I appreciate it. I look forward to talking with you more. And if there are other people that you want me to have on to provide for you for guests, let me know. I got a decent Rolodex too.
Very cool. We do have to step aside to break. We're going to hear from JPFO. And when we come back, we got our news segment right after this.
In 1928, Germany required its citizens to register their firearms, making possible Hitler's 1938 Nazi Weapons Act, disarming all Jews. Now ask yourself, what is the real consequence of registration? All in favor of gun control, raise your right hand. Brought to you by Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, America's aggressive civil rights organization. JPFO.org.
And welcome back to the Polite Society podcast, powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. This is our news segment, and I got to be honest, guys, I am really busy behind the scenes getting a few other things done here. John, what do you want to talk about in news, man?
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, which is Dana put as number one, the NRA has finally scheduled their annual meeting again. It is going to be October 24th in Tucson, Arizona, at the Lowe's Ventana Canyon Resort. The meeting will be in the morning. The board of directors and committee meetings will be in the afternoon. I've already bought my plane ticket, or I've redone my plane ticket from Springfield, Missouri to now Tucson. It will all be on Saturday. So it's not meeting on Monday and then board meeting on, or meeting on Saturday, board meeting on Monday. It's all going to be on Saturday.
So I know Arizona still has a whole bunch of restrictions for the COVID thing. Have they made plans about what they're going to do about that? Do you know?
No, I don't know. All I'm going to say is that they have a ballroom that'll hold 1,000 people. I figure If they get 100 to 250, I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be like it would have been in Nashville or Indianapolis the year before, where the meeting of the members had 1,000 or 2,000 people. It's just not going to happen. In other NRA news, Josh Powell, who had been chief of staff to Wayne LaPierre, and before that, executive director of general operations, he was kind of an overpaid incompetent, is now going to be writing his own tell-all book, or he's publishing it. Well, I can't say that he wrote it, but somebody wrote it using what he told them, and he promises to have all the dirt on the NRA, et cetera. It's coming out September 8th, so that will be interesting. I've requested a review copy or a review or advanced reader copy. I might get one. I might have to buy it. Who knows?
I think that one may be one that might be worth it just to buy.
Yeah, it's kind of rats leaving the ship is what I look at it as, because Josh Powell was one of the named defendants in the Attorney General of New York's lawsuit against the NRA.
Okay.
Well, speaking of that lawsuit,
yeah,
I was going to say, speaking of that lawsuit, Frank Tate in an article in the Washington Times says that that lawsuit is actually stirring up membership in the NRA. It seems to be increasing, and the whole Second Amendment community as a whole is getting energized by that lawsuit.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I've heard like 50,000 or more new members for the NRA.
And let's be clear. I mean, speaking for myself, I'm not going to speak for anybody but myself. I do believe if you own a gun, you still should be a member of the NRA. And I believe the NRA needs to win against the state of New York. Do I believe that the current leadership there, Wayne LaPierre et al., is the best for the NRA? Nope. But I do not believe that the NRA should be dissolved. I think they absolutely need to win this one.
I agree. Well, yes, and I have so many mixed feelings about this. I'm going to be honest about it. I think the lawsuit is kind of like the movie A Bridge Too Far, in that she put in everything in the world that she wanted as kind of a negotiating tactic. I really do not see the NRA itself being dissolved. Could she force out Wayne LaPierre and a few others, maybe even then force a new election for board of directors? Possibly. I don't see the NRA being dissolved. And I also see it's going to go on for months and months and probably years.
Mm-hmm.
It costs lots and lots of money. I do know that if this had been a normal for-profit public corporation, those named would probably have been put on administrative leave with or without pay, and somebody else would have been taking over leadership. I saw that in my own company where the chairman who had been there for 39 years, Attorney General of New York, threatened to name the company as a defendant. The board said, "We love you, but have a nice life and take your retirement and go."
Yeah.
That's corporate world. Wayne has gotten away with a lot. In a normal world, he wouldn't be getting away with this much.
I've heard it said, and I don't know whether to believe this or not, but even if the NRA is dissolved, there will be NRA 2, or there'll be, instead of the National Rifle Association, it'll be the National Rights Association, but it'll be back before the ink is dry on the court papers.
Oh, I would think so. And in another state.
Yeah.
I did get an email that was passed to me by. It was done by an attorney in the Birmingham, Alabama area, who said, looked at the case and said, what really needs to happen is that somebody who has deep pockets and who can get a New York attorney should apply for intervener status. In other words, saying, I am representing the membership of the NRA, not the leadership of the NRA.
Oh.
Because, you have 5 million members, especially, over 1 million life members. Who was really hurt by the waste of the money? The members.
Absolutely.
Not the state of New York, not the attorney general, not the public. It was the members that were hurt. And that's what he's advocating for. David Codrier just did something in AmmoLand a day or two ago about that. So.
All right. We've got about 5 minutes left in the news segment. See what else we got here. Philadelphia officials tout gun turn-in. 43 guns got turned in during the same weekend. 25 were injured. 7 were killed. Yeah. And I'm going to guess, I've not read the story. I'm going to guess what was turned in was non-working. Maybe a whole bunch of Sky Arms or Jennings or, that kind of thing.
Sky's not too bad.
Oh, please. I shot one once.
I saw them at the SHOT Show. They're okay. I mean, it's not Jimenez or Jennings, but
yeah, I shot a Sky once, and you had to keep your thumb pressing down on the safety while you were firing. Otherwise, the firing would cause the safety to re-engage, and you only got one shot off.
Another reason for not having a manual safety.
What else do we want to talk about in news?
Well, too bad Amanda's not here because her favorite governor of Ohio, or maybe second favorite, is really pushing. It says following 14 shot in Cincinnati, he's pushing for a red flag law passage or extreme violence protection order.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would have stopped anything.
Right. Yeah,
right. And then the following article from the Journal of Injury Epidemiology, their study said that red flag laws unfairly affect minorities over in the scheme of things. And so that their other wording was that red flag laws are racist.
Well, and think about it for a second. Minorities of any variety are generally, how do I put this? I don't want to sound racist in myself, but quite often minorities are of a lower income bracket and less able to hire attorneys. And so anything legal, they're going to be hurt worse than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Anything else you want to discuss in news?
Well, I mean, there's the 900-pound elephant. It's called the Democratic National Convention going on.
Yeah, it is. 8 people watched
I'm doing
it.
my best to avoid watching it. I understood Gabby Gifford spoke yesterday, and I know from emails I've gotten that all the gun control groups are having little focus groups and are really trying to raise money and like, oh, send us $5 so we can defeat the NRA.
Yeah.
The Second Amendment, the gun culture in the Second Amendment community is a lot more than just one organization. And I'm glad they don't realize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, their platform, the segment of their platform on the Second Amendment is the wish list that's been being pushed by Elizabeth Warren and members of the House. Every gun control wish item that's out there,
and
they want to push for it.
Let's not forget Kamala. And I'm saying it properly now. Kamala Harris. We would have won the Peruta case if it wasn't for her. She intervened and said the sheriff of San Diego decided he was not going to appeal his loss. She stepped in for the state of California and appealed it. And ultimately, we lost en banc.
I'm going to get one comment here on social media, Ian, and then we got to run to break. John, any info on getting the old Jim Crow era requirement for a pistol permit in North Carolina? It's a huge obstacle to becoming a new gun owner.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we have fought. You have what the impediment is that the North Carolina Sheriff's Association doesn't want to give up the power. They say that we know our citizens better, but then you have counties with 1.1 million residents. There is no way a sheriff in that county knows anything more about you than the NICS system does.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the cost to process a $5 permit is somewhere between $100 and $200.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah, they're shooting themselves in the foot financially by retaining the system.
And probably the smartest thing anybody could do is get a carry permit. You don't need a pistol purchase permit anymore. You don't go through the NICS check either.
Okay. Very cool. Well, as I said, we do have to run to break. We've got our DGU, and we're going to, just for John and Dana's benefit here, we're going to go ahead and fold DGU and show close up into one segment. We're going to go ahead and hear from Gary's group, Firearm Safety Institute, and then we'll get to that right after this.
Firearm Safety Institute is one of Northwest Illinois' premier firearm training companies. They provide superior firearm training to all levels of shooters. Gary Doherty has been a trainer and concealed weapons permit holder for many years. While living in Nevada, he carried legally and has the experience to train you to do the same. Firearms Safety Institute offers a wide range of courses designed to meet the personal needs of both seasoned shooters and those that are new to the world of firearms. If you are looking to apply for the Illinois Concealed Carry License, Firearms Safety Institute can provide you with the professional training that meets the state's requirements. Gary accommodates classes of all sizes and can provide individualized instruction if that is your personal preference. He's happy to work with you and your friends to arrange private classes and will come to your location and work around your schedule. If you would like to get your Illinois CCW or increase your firearm knowledge or skills, go to firearmsafetyinstitute.com to start the conversation. Mention the Polite Society podcast and receive a 10% discount on your training. Remember, that's firearmsafetyinstitute.com. Get your Illinois CCW today.
And welcome back to the Polite Society podcast powered by the Firearms Policy Coalition. This is our DGU and show close segment. And to get started with the DGUs, these discussions are not legal advice. Some of us are trainers, but this is not formal training, and you need formal training. The defensive gun use segment is intended as information, not training. As always, the opinions of the hosts are only their own opinions and not those of any sponsors or other affiliations. Dana, you marked yourself down for the first story out of, Bradenton, Florida.
At 4:30 a.m., not much happens that is good. A man started knocking on the door of an apartment occupied by a woman. She could not see who was banging on her door, so she made the mistake of cracking open the door. The man forced his way inside. An argument ensued between the two. Then the intruder began to argue with the man who was also in the apartment. Next, the intruder shot the man in the lower body. Fearing for her life, the woman fled to a bedroom, grabbed a gun, and returned to the living room. Another argument ensued. Almost immediately, a gunfight broke out between the two. She was able to give the intruder some lead injections. He was found later by detectives in the doorway of the apartment, assuming nighttime temperature. The woman was not injured. The sheriff believes that the woman and the intruder knew each other. The investigation continues, and it does appear to be domestic in nature.
All right. Number one, if you don't know who's there, don't open the door. Period.
Bingo.
If you don't have a peephole, make them tell you who's there. If they say Domino's Pizza and it's a voice you recognize, or maybe if you didn't order Domino's Pizza, don't open the door.
It could be a land shark.
Yeah, it could. It could. The other thing is on this one is what struck me is I'm going to go back exactly to the wording of the story. Fearing for her life, the woman fled to a bedroom, grabbed a gun, and returned to the living room. Another argument ensued. After a shot was fired and somebody's injured, if I run to a bedroom to grab a gun, I hope the gun's on me. But if I come back with a gun after a shooting and injury have already happened and the bad guy's still there, I'm not arguing. I'm answering.
Exactly.
Anything else on this one?
Well, I would have had the gun with me when I went to the door.
Exactly.
But,
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to Land O'Lakes, Florida. I wonder if they have any dairies down there.
Oh, could be. In this episode of Estranged Husbands Behaving Badly, a Florida man departs this earthly realm. The 55-year-old Pasco County man was armed with a handgun when he kicked open the door to the Land O'Lakes home. One of the residents of the home was the man's wife who had filed for divorce. The homeowner and the deranged man exchanged gunfire, which caused the intruder to leave the home. Moments later, he came charging back into the home. Homeowner fired again and killed the charging man. Sheriff Chris Nocho, said, quote, "Any loss of life is tragic, but the victim was utilizing his Second Amendment right to protect himself and his family from the fear of," I'm just going to say it, estranged husband, because there was a name, who was carrying a gun and kicking in the door. I can't imagine the fear they were going through.
Wow.
Obviously, there's probably not going to be any charges here.
I would hope not. Kick in a door and participate in a gunfight, retreat, come back, and get killed in the process.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly hope there's not charges. Sound, if not pants on gun on, it was at least pants on gun with an easy reach. Because
And do we know what time of day this was?
I believe it was right around noon.
Wow.
So
Oh,
it was
wow.
right in the middle of the day.
Yeah, just after. You're right. One of the things I did this week was actually installed a high-intensity flashlight on my home defense shotgun. Just so if somebody does break in, I can identify them. It also has the ability to strobe, so maybe disorient them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Before I put a slug in them.
Let's face it, a high-intensity light can disable, even on just straight, even in a dark situation, if you shine a very bright, we're talking 600 lumen or higher light in somebody's eyes while they're breaking in, they're not going to see anything but that light. and
Right.
they're gonna, even without strobe, they're gonna be severely disoriented.
Well, this was CDNN was running a special. You buy one, you get the second one free. 400 lumen light with bracket. I figured, what did I have to lose? $29.
Oh, for two of them? Oh, heck yeah!
Yeah.
All right, Dana, you want to comment on this one, or?
Well, I was going to comment with John with the shotgun. What's it been? About 2 months ago, we had the DGU with the man who grabbed the shotgun and found somebody in his daughter's bedroom. And we had some comments on that. And it got me thinking back to the Civil War, and especially at Antietam, that the Union soldiers who had the 69 Springfield or 42 Springfields, which was a 69 caliber, they used what was called buck and ball with 3 buckshot and a round ball. And when I Googled it, there's actually shotgun shells that are in that configuration. And I would think that would be a very good self-defense round to have, because you'd have both the larger ball plus the 3 buckshot that'll spread out a little bit and provide more coverage. So something to think about
World War
if you're
I.
using a shotgun.
Yeah, during World War I, the Germans were very upset that U.S. troops were using shotguns to clear out trenches, using trench guns, and they were trying to say that it violated the Hague Convention, and that they would have immediately shot any prisoner who was armed with a shotgun. Well, that never happened, thank goodness, but...
Yeah. I want to move on to listener feedback, and we got this as a message on Facebook today. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, as soon as I find it, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and merge this in, and I'm going to read this, and then we'll all comment on it. I'm a little behind, but on one of your podcasts, you mentioned getting a dog as a first warning type thing. My opinion, that can be a good thing. What if the dog likes the estranged family member that you have a piece of paper again? The dog might not raise the alarm. My last dog wouldn't bark at people he knew, only strangers. I'm only saying that in addition to the dog, maybe there should be another layer, such as an alarm and or deadbolts or other devices to make it harder to get in. Of course, Pogo is an important layer as well. Let's go ahead and talk about that one a bit. Yeah, I could see that as a issue with some. I tell you what, you knock on my door, I could go outside and knock on my door, and the dogs are going to go ballistic. I could knock on my desk right now, and the dogs will go ballistic. Matter of fact, just as a test, and they're not going to do it. What do you guys say? What do you guys think on this?
Well, I've got 3 dogs. One of them doesn't count because he's deaf. So if he saw somebody, he would probably bark at him. But to hear somebody banging like you just did, wouldn't do it. One of our dogs starts barking as I'm walking up the driveway. Mm-hmm. I don't even have to put my key, open up the door, and he's barking away. So I would definitely think. Even when it's somebody they know, our dogs still create some noise.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, it was something I had never considered, that the dog. The dog would to my mind, would initially bark and then start wagging its tail. It's like, oh, it's daddy's home or whatever, Bubba.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But-
and I'm not, and I hope that Jens, and that's the person that wrote the message to the show, Jens. I hope you don't think that I'm saying that dogs are the end all, be all, and only defense you should have. Of course, lock your doors. Of course, make sure the deadbolt is thrown. Anything else you can do. But I think dogs are an awesome addition, and they should never, they should only be, I want to make sure everybody knows this, they're only an alert. Don't ever make them part of your defensive solution. Once the dog lets you know what's going on, that's the end of their job. They don't need to be attacking bad people. So,
I mean, a little yapper is one of the best early warning systems you could get.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Though you do have to watch out for your ankles.
I was thinking of the same thing.
All right. We're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to blog posts, except Rob's not here today. And, wait a minute. I've got a social media commentary I got coming in. Yeah, Neil, when I mentioned Neil at the beginning of the show, he jumped over now. He says, we're recording right now, but my ears were ringing. Rob's not here, so he can't talk about his blog, which, of course, is slowfacts.wordpress.com. Go check him out. John, you got anything up over at No Lawyers, Only Guns and Money?
Nothing new since we recorded on Monday. I would just ask listeners to keep checking at onlygunsandmoney.com.
All right. And then I do want to remind everybody, as I do every time we record, please check out the Facebook group for the listeners. Just search Facebook for Polite Society Podcast Listeners. We get new listeners almost daily joining that group. And I watch what's going on in there. I participate some, but really it's the listeners that provide the most content in there. And it's really good stuff. So go ahead and check that out. That wraps up another episode of the Polite Society Podcast. I would like to thank, RickEctor, Dwayne McBride, and Ron Hammond for joining us today. So, for Amy, Dana, Gary, Tracy, John, Susan, Amanda, Robin, and Rob.
Until next time,
stay safe.
Be aware.
And we'll see you down the road.
The views and opinions on the show you just heard are those of the host and the guest and are not necessarily the views of any sponsors or other affiliations. But hey, not everyone is as smart as we are.